If you've ever thought, I don't really trust myself around a bunch of alcohol, then this workshop is for you. If you are a gal who many times has made promises to yourself, you wake up with good intentions, and then you wind up drinking, and you're like, you know what? I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm so confused when I get around to alcohol because I want it and I don't want it. I want to drink more. I want to drink less. I have a love-hate relationship with drinking and it's exhausting. And I just don't know if I trust myself because I can say I'm not going to drink and then I drink. And what is that? So if that's you, this workshop is especially for you. And many of us, if we're not there right now, we have sure been there. So we understand. So today we're going to talk about how to rebuild trust with yourself. Because listen, we've got a lot of relationships out there. I personally believe we've got a vertical relationship that is with our creator, how we got here, who made us. That's this way. And then we go out this way horizontally with the people in our lives. But I got to tell you, in that vertical relationship, not only do I have a relationship with God, my creator, I have a relationship with me. And quite honestly, ladies, I'm married. I have 2 adult children. I have parents. I have a brother, sister-in-law. I have a lot of relationships in my life. No relationship, honestly, besides that personal relationship I have with Jesus. There is no relationship in my life, just sharing personally here, there is no relationship more important to me than the relationship I have with myself. Because I cannot connect authentically, genuinely, wholeheartedly with other people until I'm really connecting with myself. And I got to tell you, this alcohol-free journey, which started out with just being sober curious, has led me into rebuilding that relationship I have with myself. Not one of perfection. Listen, I'm an Enneagram 1, which means we're kind of known as the perfectionists. So I'm not going for perfection over here. I'm really not. What I'm going for is wholehearted living. I want to be wholehearted. I want to bring in all the parts of me, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly, the struggle, and bring it in and rebuild trust from that authentic, genuine place of wholehearted living. And I believe you can do that too. I really do. I think that's been one of the biggest parts of this journey, this sober-minded journey for me, is coming back to myself, coming back to who God made me to be, coming back to being able to trust myself in any given situation, that at the end of the day, I got my own back. And now I have the support of a tribe, which is pretty darn awesome. So let's talk about it. Let's just jump in to kind of my point number 1. How self-trust gets broken. Well, it's easy to do. You know why? Because we're human. And we tend to make promises to ourselves because we honestly do have good intentions. This can go way outside the realm of drinking into our diet, our sleep routine, we make good intentions. We say we won't do something. We say we will do something. And with drinking, we say we won't, and then we do. I cannot, ladies, I cannot even tell you how many times I woke up in the morning. Definitely age 40 to 45 for me were the 5 years that I struggled the most with my drinking. And I would wake up almost every day and say, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm not drinking tonight. And a lot of those nights I did. I absolutely blew right through my good morning intentions. And I got to the point in my own relationship with me, in my own trust of what I was saying to myself, usually in my own head, just in my own brain. I was like, Jenn, I don't believe you. I don't even believe you. I would almost mock myself. I would laugh at myself like, you're a joke. I would literally look at myself and I was like, Jenn, you're full of it. Because you're not going to, you're not going to follow through. And I was like, I want to not want it, but I do want it. So I don't know what to do at 5 o'clock. Okay, these are the things we talk about in the 21-day reset challenge because I've been there. And so I would wake up and I began to make promises that I knew I would break. So what happens when we repeat this cycle of making a promise, having a good intention, keeping it inside our head, and then breaking our own promises, we begin to lose our confidence. We begin to lose some of our self-esteem and our belief we can even do this. And it bleeds out into other areas because I started thinking, Holly, if I can't even trust myself, who can I trust? I mean, everywhere you go, there you are. So it was a big deal. So I made it, like I mentioned, I made a lot of rules in my head. I wasn't really talking about my rules with anybody else because I was just riding this thing solo. This is a personal journey, but it's not a solo journey. But back then when I was struggling, I was in isolation. I was making a lot of rules in my own head that nobody even knew about. So if I broke them, I had no accountability. I had no one like cheering me on if I followed my own rules. And I had no one mocking me or shaming me but myself. It was so lonely. And yeah, I made a lot of rules in my head. I'm reading my little notes here that nobody knew about. So yeah, isolation, a lot of behavior modification. I was really focused on like, am I being a good example to my kids? Am I being the good Christian wife and mom? It was all external, but the inside was just a mess. It was a jumbled mess of confusion. I was so confused on how I could have such good intentions and then not follow through. And that's a whole nother thing. Again, we talk about this a lot in the 21-day reset because you just need to understand that a lot of our choices come from how we're feeling, our emotions. And if you're walking around with a bunch of shame and confusion and inner chaos, well, you can really go back one more step and go back to your thinking. I say in my book, Look Alive Sis, I really had more of a thinking problem than a drinking problem. And that's absolutely true. And so when we repeat this cycle, this, I'm not going to drink tonight. Actually, I know I'm going to drink tonight, even though I said I wouldn't. It erodes our confidence. And then self-trust breaks through inconsistency because I could keep my promises sometimes and sometimes I couldn't. It's kind of like I could moderate until I couldn't. And I started not even believing myself, y'all. And as I mentioned, that is so painful. It is one thing to be abandoned or betrayed by somebody else. That is painful. That is not good. But I think it's even more internally painful to betray or abandon ourselves. And y'all, that's what I was doing on a regular basis, like multiple times a week. No wonder my confidence was low. No wonder the defeat cycle was so deep inside because I got to where I was like, Jenn, you're a liar. You're lying to yourself. And that's a pretty strong word. You're a liar. But I mean, that's really what I felt like. I was like, you're a joke. You know you are. Just stop saying you're not going to drink and just say you're going to drink, and I didn't want to. So, but it's really not about the drinking. It's really about the broken promises to yourself. And so that's what this self-trust is all about. It's not about walking a fine line of perfection. It's about being honest with yourself. And it's about having more willingness than willpower. And we'll talk about that too. But point number 2, let's talk about this. Why shame makes it worse. Okay, as I just mentioned, not only would I, quote, fail myself because I would set up these ridiculous rules that were all about perfection and white knuckling it, then I'd break them. But what would happen is the slip would happen. More often than not, I would slip. I would shame myself. I would really berate myself with a lot of negative self-talk, like, get it together, Jenn. I mean, what is your problem? Like, are you that undisciplined? Do you have zero self-control? I can't believe a drink is controlling you that much. Just like I would really be hard on myself, self-attack. And then I would repeat it because shame keeps us stuck. The loop. I would drink oftentimes more after I broke my promise because of the shame. I would literally drink to subdue the amount of shame I felt from drinking. Has anyone ever done that? Have you ever taken a break from drinking and celebrated with a drink? You know what I mean? And has anyone ever had a promise to not drink, had an intention to not drink anyway, brought so much shame? You're like, well, I have screwed it up. I'm going to double down now because who cares? I obviously can't do this. And so that's why oftentimes a slip can become a slide. I used to take all these breaks and I would just be like, I can do this. And I was usually counting down to when I could drink again because I was just trying to prove to myself that I didn't have that big of a problem. So I could do that. I could take a 10-day break, could do a juice cleanse, all the things. And then I would celebrate with drinking. Or I would say, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink. And all my brain heard throughout the day was drink, drink, drink. Not, I'm not going to drink. It just heard drink. Our brain doesn't even understand the double negative of I am not, and then what it is you don't want to do. If you're repeatedly saying that to yourself, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink. Your brain is like, drink, 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 drink. And when you're trying to not drink, don't you notice all the drinks around you and other people drinking and it's just in your face? When I started changing my relationship with alcohol, I started with changing my thinking about alcohol, because you can't rebuild trust with yourself while you're tearing yourself down. It is almost next to impossible to make positive, transformative changes in your own life when you're beating yourself up. So I started just giving myself a lot more grace and a lot more compassion. Just the fact that I was willing to be honest with myself and go, you know what? I am not going to drink tonight, and here's what I'm going to do. And if I do drink tonight, I am not going to beat myself up. In fact, if I have one, it doesn't mean I'm going to have three because I already had one. You can course correct. I talk a lot about this in AFL, the alcohol-free lifestyle course. It's a pillar of building an alcohol-free lifestyle. It's not about how to stay perfect. It's about how to course correct. And so I started doing that, and I started going, you know what? Shaming myself, that's not getting me anywhere good at all. I have got to be kind to myself and recognize progress. I've got to recognize every small win. There is no win too small. So I started just making wins, honestly. And that's my third point. I really started rebuilding trust with myself by creating new wins, even outside of the alcohol department, if you will. I just needed to know I could win at anything. I felt like such a loser. Let's be honest. I was like, man, I can't do anything. I really was so down on myself. By age 45, I was like, you're a joke, Jenn. You can't work out. You can't stop drinking. You can't. You're overweight. You're playing small in your own life. No one cares what you have to say. I mean, I was so down on myself internally because I'd broken so much trust with myself. So I knew that changing my relationship with alcohol was going to be a lead domino. It was going to start knocking some things down. And I knew if I could change my relationship with drinking, it would change everything. I just didn't know how. And again, I learned how. That's what I'm teaching you in the 21-day reset. But one thing I learned is it is about consistency over intensity. Okay. Because I would come out of the gate like, man, this is going to be like 100-meter dash. I'm going to run hard and I'm going to give it all I got. And that's unsustainable. You would run a race like a marathon if you were trying to make transformation. If you were trying to change your life for the long haul, not like a burst, because I could make changes in like a burst, but I could never sustain them. It's like I could quit drinking for a minute. I could moderate, but I could stop drinking on my own. I just couldn't stay stopped. I mean, I can now, but I didn't for a long time. I couldn't stay stopped. And that's what I had to do, was rebuild having the feeling, even the emotion, even the feeling of having a small win. I mean, y'all, when I was really deepest in the pitcher plant and in the detox to retox loop, when I was in so deep, I was like, just give me a win, any win. Let me know I can win, because I just don't even think I can win at anything. So create small wins for yourself. Create small promises that you keep to yourself. I wrote a few down as examples. I'd love to see in the chat or the comments below this video if you've got some more examples. But I would say create wins in other areas. Instead of just focusing on drinking alone, just create some small wins in other areas that may be easier for you, just to get some momentum, get that flywheel going. For me, it was water, drinking more water. I was like, well, I do have an issue with Pinot Grigio, but I also have an issue with water. I was just walking around dehydrated half the time. So I started going, you know what? However many ounces of like your body weight a day. I was like, if I can make a promise, a commitment, set the intention of drinking X amount of water a day and do that, I'm winning. I'm winning. So I created a water challenge for myself. I won every day for enough time that it started to become second nature to drink more water. I felt good about myself, y'all. I felt like I can win. I can win at something. My gosh, I can just drink more water. Gym. 1 December, this was about 3 years ago. I was already alcohol free, but I was kind of feeling like a rut in my life. And I was like, you know what? I need to get back to creating small wins because I don't feel like a winner right now. So what can I do? What if I went to the gym 15 minutes every day? Not committing to any more than 15 minutes a day. Now, I don't know if you go to a gym or have a place where you go to work out. Now I do a lot of my back patio with weights and I have a little rebounder. But back then I was like, you know what? If I just walk through the gym doors every day and I only commit to stay for 15 minutes, that's enough to do a couple of reps. Maybe I get on the elliptical. I'm not gonna promise myself any more than 15 minutes. And guess what I did? In 30 days, I went to the gym every day for 30 days. Some days I literally stayed 15 minutes. I was like, okay, ding, ding, I'm done. Peace out. I made it. I did what I said I was gonna do. And most every other time I was there, I stayed longer than 15 minutes because the hardest part was just getting there. The hardest part was just carving out the time to even go. I really had an hour to spend there or 30 minutes, but I committed to 15 minutes so I knew I could win. Okay, so do that for yourself. If it's walking around the block, who knows, maybe you'll walk around 4 blocks. Commit to walking around 1 block. Create this effort ladder, create these wins where you are climbing up the rungs. You're not going from the bottom to the top. You're just creating these small wins all the way. Routine. Here's another thing that I did for myself that really helped me feel like I was winning. And that was taking off my makeup every night. Listen, y'all, when I was a drinker, I took my makeup off 50% of the time. The other 50% of the time, I was like, you know what? Who cares? I was just kind of 3 sheets to the wind. Maybe I had enough in my body that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to crash and I'll worry about self-care, face care tomorrow. And that's no good. I mean, that was no good for my skin. So I started creating a routine where I made my self-care practice, like taking off my makeup every night. Some days I don't even wear makeup. On these video days, I'm definitely wearing some makeup so you can see my eyes. But still, just creating self-care routines, whatever it is for you, walking, drinking water, taking off your makeup. Start to create some wins for yourself. And then apply that momentum and that building of self-trust to things like your relationship with alcohol. Because I'm telling you, if you can focus on what you want, if you can focus on what you're gaining, not what you don't want and not what you're losing, you can win. You can win. This is so exciting because you can literally, I've done it and I'm still working on it. I mean, I've not arrived over here, but I have worked on like, I can trust myself. And now I don't even say things to myself that I know I'm not really going to do. Leave a comment. Have you ever broken a promise to somebody else? Probably not so much. I mean, we have, but we tend to not break promises to other people because we want to walk in integrity. Listen, I want to be responsible. My word is my honor. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I'm not going to be a no-show. I'm not going to just leave them holding the bag. I'm not going to commit to bringing something somewhere and then not coming and not showing up. I would not do that to somebody else. I would not tell somebody emphatically, I will be there. I will bring this. I will show up in this way and just completely flake out. Now, life happens. I get it. But like, I would not do that to somebody else. Why do we do that to ourselves? How many times have you said, I will not, or I will, and then you just blow past it? You just blow through the good intentions. And I think if we treat ourselves with as much respect and as much honor as we treat other people, and if we care what we think about us as much as we care what other people think about us, you are going to see a giant shift in your life. Because now I'm like, man, everywhere I go, there I am. So I better like myself. I better love myself. I better love myself enough to show up for myself. Because really, ladies, at the end of the day, no one's coming to save us, you know? But my goal is just to say, sometimes you got to be your best friend. You've got to be your advocate. You've got to be the person that's on your back patio by yourself. You got to be in your kitchen. And you've got to see that you matter enough to you to keep your commitments, to honor what you want to do. You're enough and you're worth it just for you. Like, isn't that awesome? Isn't that exciting to know? So yeah, in the reset, I mean, this is what we do. We help you walk through daily opportunities to rebuild trust with yourself. Listen, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you can't change your life overnight, but you can today, right now, begin to make small steps and create small wins for yourself that add up to big transformation and big rebuilding of trust in and with yourself. And that's really important. So if you've not taken a 21-day reset challenge, join us, sign up. Let's go. Let's do this together. And I appreciate y'all being here. And I do hope that you're very encouraged and empowered. Y'all have a good one.